ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Joshua Loveridge, and I am here as a member of the prosecution team of Mr. Sam Smith. Now, before we get started, I just want to ask you, as members of the jury, why do we have laws? I'd like you all to think about that for a second. In the United States of America, we have laws to protect its citizens from harmful things such as car accidents. So, I'd like to direct your attention over here to the diagram of the incident and to the laws I've written up here on the board. In the state of Florida, unless otherwise directed by a pedestrian control signal, pedestrians facing any green signal have the right of way to proceed across the roadway within any marked or unmarked crosswalk. So I'd like to start by just showing you, although the diagram is not showing it, but the one that we were sent in our witness statements from Sam Smith did show it. There's a green light right here. There's a green light for the cars going north and south, which would then mean that as Sam Smith is going south, he can see the green signal, which means that in his mind, he has the right of way. I'd also like to read you the second law that I have provided you by the state of Florida, which is vehicular traffic shall yield the right of way to pedestrians lawfully within an adjacent crosswalk and to other traffic in the intersection. Mr. Paulson is taking a left turn into 3rd Avenue where he ends up hitting Mr. Sam Smith. A left turn which he said, he was sitting there for a while. He said, I was waiting there for a while and a small gap opened up and I had to take a quick turn. So this diagram shows us that this adjacent crosswalk to where Mr. Paulson took the turn should have the right of way, which means that Sam Smith crossing the street due to the green signal shows he is in the right. He's protected by the law. Now, I understand that the defendant's team may come up here and say that, oh, well, he had an assumption of risk. He needed to know that he could get hit by a car when he's in the crosswalk, but he did. He assumed that the law would protect him. He assumed that that green light meant he had the right of way. And you're also going to hear some evidence from our witnesses, Mr. Rudy, who was the cop on scene, and one of the defendant's team's witness, Ms. Firestone. Now, Mr. Rudy's going to tell you that he was brought in afterwards as an investigator to see whether or not there was evidence that Mr. Paulson had tried to brake before the crosswalk. There was none. Mr. Paulson did not try to slow down before hitting Mr. Smith. You can't do that. It's against the law. You have to yield the right of way to the pedestrians. You're also going to hear Ms. Firestone, who claimed that she heard this wheel squeaking as he pulled into the turn, which I'm sure all of you know means that you're pulling out of the turn way too quickly, and for a busy city square like this, that's just not the right thing to do. It's reckless, which is what we, as a prosecution team, are trying to charge Mr. Paulson with. Reckless driving. And I'll read it to you. Any person who drives in such a manner as to indicate a disregard for the safety of persons or property is guilty of reckless driving. He totally disregarded the safety of the people crossing the street, and he totally disregarded Sam Smith. He just decided, you know what? I'm late, I'm rushing, I want to get home. I'm not going to be careful. I'm going to be reckless, and look where it got him. It got him hitting a young boy and sending him flying through the air back, breaking his leg and sending him to the hospital where he needed pins and bolts and screws in his leg. And I'm also guessing that the defendant's team is going to try to tell you, well, it was dark out. Why wasn't he wearing reflective clothing? Well, it's interesting you say that because this accident, according to the witness statements, happened at 6 p.m. on February 23rd, 2015. Folks, the sun didn't set till 6:19 p.m. that day. That's 20 minutes. Which also means that unless Mr. Paulson has impaired vision and can't see properly, which means he shouldn't be driving in the first place. He should have been able to see Sam Smith. Members of the jury, I'm not asking you to take what I said into, an opinion. I'm not asking you to do what you think is right. I'm just asking you to do your job. Mr. Paulson broke the law today. Sam Smith shouldn't have to be the one responsible for that. And as a matter of fact, the biggest thing that Mr. Paulson did is he disregarded his duty of care when he decided to take the left turn. His duty of care was to make sure that all pedestrians crossing the street were safe and that there was an open lane for him to drive through. He didn't do it. Members of the jury, please, at the end of this, just do your job. Make sure that Mr. Sam Smith gets what he is asking for. Make sure Mr. Paulson's prosecuted. Thank you for your time.